All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, the background is a little bit different right now. The plants are on vacation about 15 feet away from me outside. Don't worry, they will return. They're having a little bit of fun in the sun as this warm weather approaches. Yeah, it's 70 degrees now, finally, and it's fucking wonderful. Now, I've been waiting for it for a long time, and so we will make sure that we're live over on Rumble really quickly. Hello, kitty. Yes, I see that we're live. Cat live. That's basically the sum and substance of my live streams. We have 3-degree cut over on Rumble, says first. Lemon Curd 0. It's a gorgeous day, Sticks. I agree. Absolutely. Buddy Mac 13. Lemon. And also Cam 2425 IA. If Crazy Lady becomes CEO of Twitter, then Tucker goes to Rumble. Hopefully. I'm not actually going to be talking about the Twitter CEO debacle, because right now the only thing that we have to go on to suppose that the current vice chair of advertising at the WEF is going to be the new Twitter CEO is hearsay. It's people familiar with the matter, and it's reported by WAPO. So you'll excuse me if I'm skeptical. My hope is that is not the case, that does not happen. That would be bad for the site, in my opinion. NBC Journo, by the way, NBC anchor. And so that would be that'd be a problem. I'm skeptical as to whether that claim is true. It seems like more of a hit against Twitter than anything else to get people to flee the site. We'll see whether that happens or not. Anyway, Big Boy, are you live streaming today? I'm live streaming right now. And why do you have a star by your thing? Did YouTube automatically allow paid subscriptions or something like that? You said $1.99. I see that, but or maybe StreamYard has changed something. Well, I'll be able to tell. For some reason, yours was automatically selected there. Okay, so it's just on StreamYard's end. I don't know exactly what's happening there. Yeah, I'm live streaming literally as we speak. And Seattle, greetings to you. Sent €2. Yours is selected too. Just a second. Something weird is going on here with StreamYard. There's a star by what you're saying on StreamYard. I'm talking about that particular streaming platform. And for some reason, all the new super chats that are coming in are have a little star by them that's already pre-selected. And I can unselect it manually. Branch Covidian19. Chicago's mayor-elect is having a town hall on reparations. Yeah, you're starred too. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Ray Atkinson, Sticks, which cat is your familiar? Not this one. This one pees on my belongings and on the baby's belongings occasionally too, and howls in the middle of the night. I'm just gonna, I don't know what the fuck is going on with StreamYard, so I have no clue. They've changed something. They've changed something within their system there. Whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as people can super chat, that's I guess it's fine with me. Anyway, we've got to talk today about Hakeem Jeffries' propaganda with regards to the with the border situation. Title 42 is officially ended, and things are not good at the U.S. border. 10,000 people per day are streaming across the southern border. 10,000 every day. A small town worth of people every single 24 hours. It's probably more than that. That's just what they can count. So we'll be talking about that. Also, the FBI has inadvertently proven that the Biden bribery document is real. That scandal is now corroborated. Mike Sington with his TDS propaganda. We'll be talking about that. I'll read that one verbatim, and various other sundry news stories. Excellent. It's going to be a fun time had by all. And of course, it's Friday, so the next couple of days I have to stream. Today, I'm celebrating a very, very successful week, especially with regards to Orange Man Big. Link is pinned above if you're watching on YouTube, and in the description if you're watching on Twitter or Rumble. Please do get a copy. It is sold over 1,000 copies so far between paperback and digital. I couldn't wish for more. I had no clue that it would be as successful as that. It's only a little more than a week since it's been published. That's By the way, a pretty good sales totals for Amazon or any other site. And so people are enjoying that. I'm glad. I encourage all of the feedback that people are sending. Please do leave a rating if you get a copy. I encourage you to buy paperback so you get something tangible. It is a satirical work about leftists fantasizing about Donald Trump and getting theirs in various degenerated ways. Some people enjoy it. A few others have said, well, none of this is more of a miss. It's too bawdy. It's not characteristic of your intellectual content. Well, shit, you should read morbid stories. I've been doing this for a long time. I like scatological humor. I like things that are a little bit offbeat or a lot of bit offbeat. And so I'm going to keep doing that. There will be a Orange Man Big Part 2, Volume 2. However, that will be sometime coming because I've got a couple of other works in the intermediate period that I have to work on. I'm almost done with a work against wokeness, where I define and humiliate the woke. Another work on gun control, actually, trying to tell people there are certain arguments that I see that, while correct, are made in favor of gun rights that nonetheless are easily refuted and don't make sense to make. And then there are other arguments that are more strong. And so what I'm trying to do is retool people to make better arguments in favor of the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. No. It's self-evident, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. When you're trying to convince someone who does not believe that it's self-evident, you need to go further than that. You have to understand not everyone understands the linguistics behind the Second Amendment. That will be part of the work, by the way, the linguistics behind it. That is technically an intermediate argument because a lot of people will just ignore it. I've noticed there are arguments in favor of not having any gun control in the United States that are quite strong. And so I'm going to be going through and sort of categorizing them, actually. Anyway, a few more super chats here. Ligma Weenus, did you see that a federal judge ruled that the handgun ban for 18 to 20-year-olds is unconstitutional? Yes, main news of tomorrow, a federal judge in Virginia has overruled the federal rule with regards to handgun purchasing being limited to people over 21, partially based on Bruin. This is the first major federal decision actually subjugate to Bruin to make that clear. They will be appealed. I can't imagine that there's any argument that they're going to be able to make, especially before the fucking Supreme Court that passed Bruin in the first place, to say that a 21-year-old can buy a handgun, but an 18-year-old can't when they're self-evidently part of the militia. So that rule is probably dead at this time. That's assuming that SCOTUS even bothers to take up the case, by the way. Sebastian Monroe, if you don't like the current political parties, and if you're tired of waiting for someone else, there's always the Lemon Party. I get the reference. I was using 4chan back in the day when you were still peeing in your diapers, boy. You can't fool me. I know not to look up Lemon Party. You shouldn't look up Lemon Party. You should look up Meat Spin instead. Alarian Horizon, it's staggering how corrupt Beijing Biden is. Yeah, we'll be talking about some legendary levels of corruption in a short bit. Spider Eternal, we're all superstars here. All hail the clank. Ryan McDonald, USA. Massey could have chosen to not vote on Title 42. Yep. Title 42 has ended, and it's already causing problems. Not surprising, though. Everyone literally predicted it. James Flowers, if you do more than one volume, I would like a hardcover omnibus. I could do that. Yeah. I mean, it's my self-titled work, so I don't have to deal with Amazon's onerous copyright bullshit. So, yeah, I could probably do a hardcover. Throw in a few extra stories on top of the 2 volumes or something, but I'd like to release them paperback first. Iggy the Incubus, Sticks, I'm attempting a Minecraft castle. Any in real life castles for a relative simpleton to make inspiration from that you recommend? Warwick Castle over in England. Look up Warwick Castle. Yeah, do that one. And I have to have some torches on the lawn considering the size of it. Otherwise, I have zombies wandering around every night. The Defamation League. Apparently, Elon is hiring a WEF member as Twitter's CEO. That is unconfirmed at this time. First, he goes back on making the platform free speech. Now this, maybe Spaceship Man really is bad. We do not have corroboration that that WEF NBC News journo is actually going to be the Twitter CEO. I've seen countermanding evidence and countermanding claims we'll wait and see. I'm not going to jump down his throat because it looks awfully like a WAPO hit piece to me. King of Biltong. Good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. More meat for y'all. I'm going to eat all of that fucking meat. Apache just spoke with a friend about what gun policy they'd like to see. Most people want to do things that are already on the books. Explaining that helps. You've got a good point. When people talk about universal background checks, for example, well, you go to a gun store, what do you think happens? They just say, hey, give me $300 and give me this revolver. No, that's not what happens. You have to fill out a federal form. Honest jerk. Old Man Sticks is funny, even funnier when he rants. Every day. Jesus. Drennan. Good day, Sticks and Clankers. Going to plant all my plants in the garden this weekend. Also, I'm going to buy Orange Man Big for myself and my friend's birthday. Clank. Good on you. Both the plants and the book, by the way. You can read it in between planting. You know, you get tired, you have your lemonade, you're under the umbrella, and you read Orange Man Big. Big boy. A fancy illustrated hardcover of Orange Man Big would be hilarious. Yeah, I already have somebody aboard who wants to do illustrating for the cover of the second volume. That would be a good idea. Internal illustrations for an omnibus, a hardcover. Over on Rumble, Nick Ray 47, howdy from Ohio, Sticks. Howdy to you too. And Dildozer, I actually just purchased your book yesterday. Should have it this weekend. It better not suck. If you like weird, offbeat, scatological, and sexual humor, I guarantee you'll enjoy it. So far, the ratings are in. People are liking it. It's doing better than 101 commie jokes, and actually, that was one of my favorite works to write. I had a great time doing that shit. Hello. How do you stream on Twitter from PC? Tech help. Get StreamYard. It now works with Opera browser, which I work, or with Chrome or any of the other major ones, Mozilla, and whoever uses it still. And you can multi-stream. You pay them a pittance per month, and you can stream to 3 different locations. If you pay them nothing, you can stream to any single location regardless. Anyway, the first news story. Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries says Republicans are creating a fictional argument around what's happening at the border. And there's a video there if you want to go to the main actual page as opposed to the archive. Link in the description, by the way, you can follow along. Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on Thursday said Republicans are creating a fictional argument about what's happening at the border as Title 42 expires. Title 42, a Trump-era policy that forced migrants seeking asylum to remain in Mexico while their immigration case makes it through the system, expired today. Well, technically yesterday, but nobody's counting. House Republicans are expected to pass a bill to secure the Border Act of 2023 in an effort to get the border crisis under control. Of course, the Democrats will make that DOA in the Senate. The idea that the border is fucked up is true. Anyone near the border knows that. I have plenty of contacts that live in El Paso and Weslaco and McAllen and all of those other places. They're all attesting to the same basic thing. Hey, we're overrun. We're inundated. We can also see the news coverage at Martha's Vineyard or in New York City or Chicago or other blue states in the sanctuary cities where things are all fucked up. And that's because of a tiny number of people out of that hole that are being sent there. Over 60,000 people. Keep in mind, look at the live streaming audience right now. I have a decent live streaming audience. Right now, about 3,000 people are watching live. Multiply that by 20, the number of people watching live right now. I mean, if you got that in a live stream, you'd be real fucking happy. Getting a shit ton of super chats at that point. Maybe not for migrants, but, in general. That's the number of people who are waiting at the border physically, and that's probably an underestimate. 10,000 people are coming across the U.S. border per week at this point. 10,000, enough to fill up a small town. The Biden administration is coping right now by saying, look, no, it's fine. This is a little bit of a bump in the road. We're going to take care of it. We're not going to accept all these people into the country. But the thing is, without Title 42, you're bringing them into the country and you're processing them. And many of them are being released on a case-by-case basis under conditional parole, which is literally their term for it, as though there was some sort of criminal proceeding. So within 60 days, they have to check back in and on their processing and get registered and stuff, assuming that they're found eligible for asylum seeking. In the meantime, if I'm a migrant, I'm not eligible for asylum seeking. And a lawyer is there to tell me that I'm not eligible, by the way. And they say, well, come back within 60 days or so and, we'll get things squared away and decide whether we allow you in or not. At that point, don't I simply stay in the country illegally, not check in, and disappear into the woodwork? That's what I would do. This is Biden's idea of how to solve the border crisis. It's basically catch and release with more words. That's all that he's done. The border wall remains incompleted. The border remains porous in general. There aren't enough people there. I realize that they sent a pittance of soldiers to the southern border, National Guardsmen, to try to help sort people out, but that's not going to be enough. That's enough to make sure that at the main crossings, people go into processing. But it's left entirely up to the bureaucrats that are doing the processing who stays and who goes on parole. Virtually all the people that are put on that conditional parole are going to disappear into the United States. But you won't know about that until sometime next year at earliest. That's the whole grift. They're releasing the pressure valve. They're going to let 90% of these people in while claiming that 90% of them probably will be deported. This is an unmitigated disaster. The border is in complete chaos. It's not tenable. It's not proper. The federal government is not doing its job, and the states really need to step in and do more. At this point, people along the southern border are justified in attempting to fortify it in whatever legal way they can do. They should be petitioning their state governments to do more, because clearly the federal government has decided to abscond when it comes to the southern border. And so, it's Biden's fault. This wasn't happening under Donald Trump. Attempts were made to fortify the border as opposed to fortifying the elections. And, the uniparty Republicans that want more Hispanic slave labor, they were the ones mainly standing in the way of it. I like how some people with Trump derangement syndrome will still blame him for the border crisis. Well, he should have done more. Yeah, well, when you can't get money to do more because your own fucking Republican Party refuses to fucking fund it, it is not your fault. When you're browbeating them every other day on the subject, it's the uniparty Republicans' fault. They want slaves. That's what they see Mexicans as. Slaves to be used, especially on Epstein Island, apparently. Evangelist Dr. Robert L. McKim Sr. I ate green beans and yellow beans. Loved it. Green beans are good, especially garden fresh. Can't wait to grow fucking garden shit again. It's going to be great. I'm going to have the best garden ever on 2 different continents. Killshot RC, Sticks, it's finally the weekend. I'm ready to get the motorcycle out and getting some miles logged. Have a great weekend, clankers. John Andrew, you should make Orange Man Big a pop-up book. Definitely would buy that. I'd need an actual publisher for that. I don't think Amazon doesn't do pop-up books, unfortunately. Corto Maltese, your opinion on tarot. 9 times out of 10, I try it. It's strangely on point. I know it's up to interpretation, but it still gets results. It's the interpretation that makes it seem to be accurate. Tarot is fun. I have a deck back in Rutland myself. It's very, very fun to play around with. But you probably shouldn't base any major life decisions on tarot cards. Ashley, Orange Man Big is big league, tremendous league. 10.2 league, Jesus Christ. Stuffing it up in those meat flaps. John Andrew, make Orange Man Big a pop-up book. Brian Gibson, Sticks, Nostr is a true free speech platform powered by Bitcoin. It's open source, decentralized, and can never be taken down or censored. Oh, it can definitely be taken down or censored if the government wants it enough. No, that's the whole problem. Ashley, let's call it Tidal Wave 42. Yeah, it's more like an out-and-out fucking tsunami. Iggy the Incubus, Warwick Castle looks good, though I definitely have to raise the height of the wall I already have, which are 6 blocks high with 10 block high towers. Yeah, that would be minute compared to Warwick Castle. I found a nice village. I finally, after 20 or so different iterations, I finally found a village that's both defensible and large enough to justify bothering to develop in Minecraft. So I'll show that off sometime when I'm done with it. BW, think Mansion and Cinema could vote for it? Possibly. I'm not sure. Trash Panda, I think we will have to turn the border into a demilitarized zone to get a handle on the criminal migration at this point and clean out the deep state. Yeah, put some turrets up there. Tell people, we're not asking you not to come. We're telling you, don't get near it. Leave us alone. The Patriot Cairo. Sticks, I'm between patients and had to say good morning. Hope all clankers are well. Have to watch the stream later. I'm sure you'll discuss the House border bill. Briefly, I already did. So you'll see that when it comes through. There's a shit ton of other news to cover, though. I've only gotten to the first story right now. We're 20 minutes in. F. Giamato, can you add refuting the gun control argument of, well, people cannot and should not own nuclear weapons? Hear that one a lot. Yeah, I could add that one in. I think that'd go under the poor arguments one, yeah. Because it's a kind of apples to oranges with something that can be maintained by the average member of the militia. Ozzy's Robots, good morning. A Veritas-type organization should make a documentary showing exploitation and suffering of the migrants in the U.S. in time for the election. It would be quickly covered up with spurious reasoning behind it. John Andrew, yeah, I sent it twice. Keep it all. Buy stuff for your cat overlords. Yeah, especially the pissy one. Cam2425IA. Did you see the video of Peter Flaherty calling out Buffett and Gates on Epstein and gender? No, I didn't. You can DM that to me if you want. And Sigilstone17. The regime has sent soldiers to the border to protect the new voting class and ensure none of those problematic citizens have crazy ideas like sovereignty or nationality. Conservacuck, I got an ad on your Rumble video yesterday. Yes, on Rumble, ads are occasionally playing, depending on what kind of ad blocker you have. My old pledge to never take ad revenue was for YouTube. With Rumble, I don't begrudge them that because they are more of a free speech platform. They're still in their infancy as regards to being a mainline competitor, and so I don't have a problem with that. But I will never take ads on YouTube voluntarily. I pledged that many, many years ago. God, it must have been 10 years ago at this point, and I never will. So the only reason I have an AdSense account is for, fucking super chats. Next news story, we've got a big one. FBI misses subpoena deadline for key Biden bribery document. Now, there's something interesting within this story, and we'll read through a couple of paragraphs here. The FBI has failed to turn over a key document allegedly showing President Joe Biden traded policy changes in exchange for cash payments laundered through associates and family members to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, by the way, during his time as vice president. That would be treason, by the way, potentially. A whistleblower who is now protected under federal law recently came forward with the bribery allegation in testimony to House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer and Senate Judiciary Committee Ranking Member Chuck Grassley. It's clear from the FBI's response that the unclassified record the Oversight Committee subpoenaed exists, but they are refusing to provide it to the committee. Now, how do we know this? It's because the FBI came out and told them, well, we'll make accommodations with regards to this document that you're talking about. We can't give it to you yet, but we'll try to make special accommodations. See, the problem is this. You can't make accommodations for a document that ain't real now, can you? If the document's not real, the FBI would say, look, we don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. There is no such document. We do not have it. We cannot accommodate you. We cannot provide it. We're willing to put an agent forth and talk to you and tell you over and over again, hey, no such document exists. How can you provide accommodation for the requisition of a document unless the document is real? So the document does exist. Joe Biden has been investigated, at least informally, by the FBI for bribery. Whether that led to anything, and clearly didn't in the end, is meaningless. The document does exist. If somebody attempts to try to say that this is a conspiracy theory when you bring it up, point this article out. Again, link in the description, archived, of course. You cannot make special accommodations for something unless there is something to make accommodations for. It's plain and simple. It's night and day. It's clear, objective reality. The document does actually exist. The reason that they're slow walking it is they're hoping the public will lose interest. The House and the Senate individuals that are looking into it will lose interest or get stonewalled long enough for them to punt it past the next election. That's really the only reasoning. If they give it to them before the next election, it'll be because they think that Joe Biden, number one, can't win, and number two, may have keeled over at that point. That's the only reason that you'll get it. If Joe Biden croaks or is incapacitated or stands down because his polling is so abysmal because he wrecked the fucking economy, then maybe you'll see it before the next election. Otherwise, they're going to use every procedural capability that they have to stonewall this particular investigation. The document is real. It is absolutely, objectively, and now provably real. There is a document, long story short, within the FBI, DOJ, et cetera, have had this. It's unclassified. They have a document in which there are allegations that Joe Biden was receiving bribes from foreign players through third parties, money laundering, effectively, potentially charges for them, although it'll never happen. Don't fucking hold your breath. It exists. And it wasn't followed up with. It wasn't followed up with because they wanted to mint him as the next president of the United States because Orange Man bad. That's what the FBI did. They are completely in on it. They'll do everything they can to cover for their man, which is Joe Biden. He's a puppet. He's a steward. He's not really in charge of anything. At the moment, unfortunately, a bunch of corporate and intel puppet masters are the ones running the United States. It's an oligarchy. The United States at the moment is a technical oligarchy. There is no central leader. There is no chief executive. There is a steward who doesn't know even what he ate for lunch in general. So, yeah, so we've got corroboration that the bribery document is real, which is damning. Under any other circumstances, it would result in immediate high-level investigation, and it would be bipartisan. The only reason it's not is because, again, Orange Man bad. The fact that Trump is standing for the Republican nomination is the only thing keeping Joe Biden from being in a fucking jail cell. Steady Eddie 1983. What do you think about placing immigration judges at U.S. embassies in Central and South America? Folks can apply without having to make the trek. You could, I guess. Might be cheaper. Just a second here. Something's going on. Oh, Jesus Christ. By the way, 4,000 people watching live. Anyway, next news story. Oh, we have the most epic cope. The most epic cope about Trump's town hall. I've got to report it to you. There are plenty of liberals that are coping right now because Trump's town hall was a wash for the legacy media that wanted to bring him aboard to entrap him. The idea is it was billed as a town hall, but I don't think he even got 7 questions from the audience. Most of the time, like 45, 50 minutes of it was him sparring with the moderator. It was more of a debate than a town hall. CNN attempted and failed to entrap Trump. They were warned about this, by the way, literally by leftoids. Technically, they're not wrong. They wanted to stop the Trump. They failed. They gave him more fucking fuel for his engines on the Trump train. Here is the ultimate cope, though. I'm going to quote this. It is from Mike Singleton, of course, a legacy journo / attaché. Oh, boy. You're going to love this one. So if you've got any fluids in your mouth right now, swallow them or spit it out, depending on, what you're into in the bedroom. The numbers are in, and Trump is not as big of a draw as he thinks he is. CNN's much ballyhooed town hall drew 3.12 million viewers. During the same time period, Fox News had 1.41 million viewers, and MSNBC 1.37 million. CNN, was it worth destroying your reputation over? Now, first, let's look at the basic math. That's just what he's stating here in the cable news category. So Donald Trump on what is effectively now a tertiary network. CNN is way below Fox News. We'll see if that's still the case in a month after Tucker's gone. MSNBC is bigger than CNN. CNN is down the pack when it comes to most of those news slots. You're saying that it is a loss for Donald Trump that he pulled in more viewers than the 2 big networks combined on a tertiary network? You're saying that's a bad thing? He not only drew in as many as both of them combined, but then almost 500,000 more people in that same time slot. Okay, that's a win. That's not a loss for Donald Trump. That's over 3 fucking million people are watching me browbeat the moderator, and occasionally I got a question from someone more sympathetic. Then there's the live streaming, and this is what I hate about pundits, left, right, and center, by the way, when they analyze network rankings, when they analyze cable news, etc. Do you realize how much bigger live streaming on the internet is than cable at this point? And cable, if you looked at every cable network across an hour slot, every single network on basic cable, so CNN, NBC, MSNBC, Fox News, not just news networks, the cooking channel, everything. and you were to look at the number of people that tuned in for that hour, and then you were to compare it to live streaming across the internet, YouTube, Rumble, StreamYard, fucking Twitch, DLive, all of the others, dwarfed in comparison. Cable news is meaningful in the sense of generally gauging attention among certain audience blocks. If I looked at just a few of the goddamn live streams that were online, Crowder alone was approaching many hundreds of thousands of views. Just that one. Pac-Man, who talked over Trump the entire time, he was drawing a shit ton of views too. Between those two fucking people, you've already got almost the same audience that MSNBC was pulling in the same slot. That's 2 fucking internet streams, just 2 of them. There were hundreds of them. Somebody reported to me that there were French language channels that were covering it. Of course, the massive win that was the Trump town hall, for Trump, not for CNN, of course, was speedily covered up by not just CNN, but every other mainline network. A lot of those streams very quickly were deleted. I had to use the Rumble instance in order to watch the whole thing, and there were some audio problems during that. That's CNN. Of course they have audio problems. They don't have a budget anymore. Donald Trump, the fact is that on cable alone, he kicked ass. And when you add the live, the other thing is Sington and others are saying, well, this isn't 2016 numbers. It's not the same hype as before. Since 2016, don't you think that the average absorber of news has moved away from cable towards live streaming of one form or another? It has nothing to do with cable rankings. Cable rankings are becoming less and less important because less and less people are watching cable as an aggregate, as a ratio compared to people who pay attention to internet live streams. Like, look at right now, there's 3,000 people watching me on YouTube. There's a couple thousand more almost watching me on Rumble. And that's the reality. And I don't have a budget either. I have a webcam and an allegedly shitty microphone, and I sit here in my living room and do this and have 5,000 people almost watching me. Well, CNN should be able to pull in more people on a normal time slot. CNN is way behind Fox and MSNBC normally, and yet they were far ahead of them, both combined, on that particular slot by almost 500,000 people ahead of both of them combined. That is a win for Trump. And those are a lot. There are going to be a lot of undecided voters that tuned into that. I think they liked what they saw, considering not just the ratings, but everything else about it. It was Trump in 2016 form. And of course, the cable slots are going to be a little bit less now because so many fewer people watch cable. But Sington doesn't understand that. He's stuck in the 1990s, I guess. Tyson Clark. Hey, life could be worse. You could live in Sarnia. I don't know where that is. Sparky Sticks, your delightful book, Orange Man Big, at least partially explains the wacko left's obsession with Trump. A great value at $6. Clanked him. Buy it. Glad that you liked it, Sparky. Volume 2 coming fairly soon. Maybe there'll be a volume 3. I don't know. We'll figure it out in the future. I've got 10 other fucking projects I'm working on. I just got a description of the illustrations for another re-edit, actually, to my Illustrator, well, about an hour ago. Trash Panda, breaking news. Donald Trump to be indicted for murdering Caitlin Collins' career. Iggy the Incubus, finally watched the town hall, and my God, it was glorious. The cope from the left is even better with the context. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's cope. He wouldn't be talking about it at all if this weren't a cope. He wouldn't want to talk about it. He wouldn't want anyone to know that the town hall happened. Notice he's not bitching about what Trump said. He's bitching about the TV ratings. There's a reason for that. Ozzy's robots, Bush's, Clinton's, Biden, Trump, the only non-criminal. Yeah, Trump is the only president in living memory other than first-term Reagan, really, for most people, that made any sense. Reagan in his second term was compromised. I hope that doesn't happen to Donald. Roberto Gonzalez. There are already immigration judges at every U.S. embassy. My Mexican-born wife got her U.S. green card while we were in Seoul. Her unlawful entry was waived. Ah, interesting. JJ Lovecraft said clank and sent a spoon emoji. Tonight, I'm celebrating the arrival of the weekend. We're carrying out some food from a local restaurant. I'm getting grilled fish, and I hope it's the whole fish, head and all, so I can crush its skull in my teeth. That'll be fucking great. Never eaten that kind of fish before. I think it's about time. Next news story. Fox News goes the way of the landline. This is a Substack article, and you can by Sasha Stone. You can read it at your leisure. Good article. And the idea is that Fox, they've really fucked up. It's not just because of the absence of Tucker Carlson. That's a big chunk of their daytime audience. With him gone, their main slot is hazarded, and it's not even entirely. I mean, they must have gotten more money from George Soros than Tucker Carlson was worth in ad revenue or something like that. So they got rid of him. The other problem is that unlike CNN, ironically enough, again, we're in a moment where CNN is attacked by leftists and Fox is attacked by right-wingers. Bizarro world. Anyway, they've also frozen out Trump. Fox has effectively passed a policy. It's a silent one, but it's understood by the people that are working there. No Trump. Don't platform him. Don't talk to him. Don't talk too much about him unless it's critical. We are the new CNN. Fox has become CNN. CNN is at risk of becoming the next Fox. I wonder how long before they fire the next person that's actually legit on the network. Don Lemon, of course, does not count. Very, very interesting. So we'll see what happens with Fox News, but without their heavy hitter. I mean, it's like, again, it's like you've got a boxing roster and you just fired Mike Tyson. You just got rid of your heavyweight. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Iron Mike, but you have to go. Yeah, but Mike Tyson at his prime, and you say, well, it's just not working for us. He said something that was mildly offensive. Well, with Mike Tyson, sometimes it's more than that. But we're getting rid of him. We're going to keep all the bantamweight boxers on the roster. Our company has decided to stop sponsoring Mike Tyson. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. And I hate making sports references because I don't really like sports, but Mike Tyson seems like a bro. Whacked out one with some problems, but yeah, he has some good points too. Yeah, we're getting rid of Iron back at his peak. That's their entire marketing strategy. John Snedden, as the Republic goes into the death throes and lawlessness becomes the rule, who do you think will become the first Caesar of the new American empire? I don't think we're close to that yet. I remain an eternal optimist. I look at the timeline of American empire differently from most. They say, well, United States has been around since the late 1700s. The average empire lasts 200 years and then it dies. Well, the United States was not an empire in the 17 or even 1800s. The oldest possible date that you can give, and I've analyzed this, for the United States having effectively an empire status is around the time of the Great White Navy under Teddy Roosevelt at the dawn of the 20th century. That means we should have, by that metric, about 80 years left. The best measurement, in my opinion, is just after World War II. We're building atomic power. We've established ourselves as a major military muscle, in fact, one of two truly major muscles, forming a massive Western Sphere alliance. That would put it about the late 40s, in which case we would have about 130 years left as an empire. That is my belief. Some people use the Civil War as a metric. I don't think that you can consider post-Civil War United States an empire. The nation being federalized and united in the political sense may compensate for that, may be proper. Militarily, the United States was a rising power and a significant one, but it still was not on the same order as the British. Diplomatically, it was becoming more important, but it wasn't on the same order as the British or French empires, or was more roughly associated with Russia at the time, which we call an empire, mainly because of its land area, although they kept getting their shit shoved in by people from the deep third world, including the sick man of fucking Europe at several points. I wouldn't put it there. I would say the best estimate is that we have 100 years or so left as an empire. And people don't want to believe that. They want to believe that the system's collapsing because they hate elements of the system. And so they get cognitive bias. That's my opinion. Iggy the Incubus, are you suggesting the network's parties switched? Yeah, almost. CNN is, well, they had Trump on for a town hall. Fox News, meanwhile, has frozen him out entirely. Josh Eternal, we started being an empire after World War II. See, that's where I would put it. Roughly around 48 or 49, somewhere around there. You could make the argument that the Great White Navy era 1910s, maybe into the roaring 20s, that's the proper cutoff. Either way, we'll all be long dead before the U.S. empire collapses. My hope is that it lasts long enough for my child and maybe grandchildren, if I have them, to live in splendor. Mojo Hansen, Santos is a distraction from Biden Incorporated. Agreed, but he is probably guilty. Some of those charges, they're pretty ironclad when you look at the evidence. Don't let him convince you to compare him to Trump. That's a poisoned fruit by the Democrats. Next news story. Judge in Virginia strikes down federal limit on age of handgun buyers. Yes, the ruling in Richmond is one of the first successful challenges to gun control laws under the Supreme Court's landmark 2020 Bruin decision. This has to do with the federal law, so the Cornyn-Romney bill, basically, which raises the age to buy handguns to 21. Now, clearly, this violates the Constitution. If you're of the age of majority, not incarcerated, not mentally impaired to a significant degree, to the degree of a criminal lunatic, that's how the founders would have put it, etc., and you're not a member of the active military, in which case you can't also be militia, by the way. Soldiers actually are not members of the militia at all. It's quite the opposite. Then you have the right to own any firearm you want. But the federal registry tries to prevent people under 21 from owning a handgun. So like a Glock 17 or whatever, topical weapons, etc. That's been overruled by a federal judge in Virginia. This is Judge Robert E. Payne. He was actually appointed by Herbert Walker Bush. So he's an older dude. And that's good. I expect that this will stand up. This case ruling will stand up. I do not believe if it goes before SCOTUS, they will uphold the ruling. In which case, I mean, the anti-gunners are crazy if they even bring it before SCOTUS. They should make do with the Fed. I mean, I hate to give advice to my ideological enemies that hate the Second Amendment, but if I was you, I wouldn't allow the government to proceed with a case before SCOTUS that is definitely going to side with the defense, when you could wait for a more, liberal SCOTUS maybe 50 years from now, which is probably how long you'll have to wait after the next election, assuming it's not honked to death. That's what I would do. But anyway, the ruling said that the licensed weapons dealers having to do that check was not consistent with our nation's history and tradition and therefore could not stand. Well, yeah, of course, because it's a recent ruling. There is no historical tradition. Bruin does not just relate to federal gun control. Under McDonald v. Chicago, D.C. Heller, etc., the states are also bound by the 10th Amendment. But you have to go from the top down with this kind of ruling. So you have to nullify the federal law first, then you go after the states individually, which is a much slower process. When it's an egregious violation of a constitutional right, things should be expedited much more. But this is a step in the right direction. Bruin, once again, Donald Trump, by the way, appointing a third of the incarnation of the current SCOTUS, getting a big win in favor of gun rights. So because I have the feeling that they're crazy enough to take it before SCOTUS, I can't imagine Kavanaugh voting yay in regards to the case with regards to federal law. I can't imagine him siding with it. Gorsuch definitely won't. Clarence Thomas won't. I think it would be difficult to even get Roberts to vote in favor. So it'll probably be a 6-3. And that's assuming that it goes before SCOTUS at all. If it doesn't go before SCOTUS, if they don't hear the case, of course, this decision is binding. So, yeah, gun control dealt another massive, massive blow in the last 48 hours. Ozzy's robots. What would it take to flush out all the globalist Marxist influence permeating education, corporations, government, and military, etc.? Seems like a tall order. Cultural movement. People need to become more responsible. They need to become more cued in to doing their own thing, become more skilled. I talk about self-improvement a lot. It's definitely the hard road, but it's the road that you must travel if you want liberty. It's not, liberty is not easy. Being a slave is easy. Someone else makes the decisions for you. Being free and making your own decisions is hard because you have to be responsible. You have to take initiative. You can't just say, well, I've got the right to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm not going to take any steps to guarantee the right, in other words. Wild Child, shout or request for Robert Jovea Esquire channel. He's a very cool attorney who has decades and translates legal news and court cases in depth. Oh, who decodes and translates legal news and court cases in depth. I'll pop that up there. So there's Robert Gouveia. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. IB Rippenham. I built a fart empire. Fart speech is free speech. Sparky, the deindustrialization of the United States was a mistake. You may quote me on that. We're not deindustrialized. That is actually completely wrong. The Western world has a lot of industry. It's just that it's constantly embattled by federal government regulation. Drew and Albane, with the Second Amendment argument with nukes is to point out the second is not just guns. It is arms, which is anything and everything. Yeah, it extends to body armor. It extends to swords. It extends to, billets and shit like that. Of course, it goes beyond firearms. It goes to all firearm accessories, explosives, etc. I do believe in an element of pragmatism. If people did own nuclear weapons, I think that might become an issue at some point. Of course, the individual militia has to be trained with the use of their arms. Anyone can train with a machine gun. Anyone can train with a knife. Training with a nuclear weapon is a little bit different. And I'll talk about my opinions of that in my forthcoming booklet on the topic and possibly a video in the near future. Mojo Hansen, I just meant the timing of Santos is plain to see. Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit quick. It's like Joe Biden's under investigation for years. Nothing is done. George Santos is under investigation for a couple weeks. They come out with, 13 charges against him. So I would agree with you on that one. Cardinal Fabrizio Rufo. Trump not using Twitter is the equivalent of him not attending CNN's town hall. I guess it got tired of winning. Yeah, Trump should get back on Twitter. I do agree. Iggy the Incubus, I think we should universalize age of majority, voting, drinking, etc. Thoughts? Unrelated. What software do you use to stream multi-platform? I use StreamYard. I'm on Twitch and want to branch out. Shout out, please. Shout out for Iggy the Incubus, my man. Yeah, I think universalizing, that's a bad idea. I don't care if the states want to fix their own age for things like drinking, smoking, etc., because they're not constitutional rights. Voting, of course, is obviously fixed. The Second Amendment is tied into voting. There's a reason why when you sign up to be able to vote, you're registering for the draft if you're male. Females, by the way, should be forced to do that now as well, since they can join the military in an active role. Sparky, Sticks, don't tell me that the fearless leader of Clank Nation kept his U.S. citizenship. I didn't realize Clank Nation allowed dual citizenship. Yeah, I'm going for dual citizenship, U.S. and Dutch, actually. That means I can go anywhere in Europe that I can buy a French castle someday, maybe, if I make enough money. Big boy, Sticks cucked on nukes to the shed with you. And let's see. Metal Shred Freak and Rumble. Sticks, can I bribe you to shill my show? The new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, is now out, and I'm going to stream the fucking hell out of it and talk shit about commies. Shred Freak Games, 8 p.m. Central. Well, consider myself bribed. And you sent it, I think, 3 times. Well, I mean, I appreciate the money, but you didn't have to do that. I would have gotten to it. I was looking at the super chats on the other end. Dildozer. America became an empire once we went to the petrodollar. Again, that would put us still at 100 years left of empire. Oil wasn't much of a thing until the 20th century. Caffeine. I'd clank it, but fucking have a spoon. Next news story. And by the way, please send no more super chats. We're almost at 50 minutes. I do have several more important things to do today. I should probably shower at some point so I don't smell like an asshole. I got to go pick up the food. Got to go to the store. Got to do some more editing. Got to clean. Got to sleep at some point. I don't know when I'm going to work that in, but please send me no more money. I've had enough money for the day. I feel like I'm properly rewarded for the live stream. I got a couple more news stories to go through. Fox News reporting. Supreme Court sides with transgender woman over deportation dispute in unanimous decision. Now, I don't really care about the story. Plaintiff Leon Santos Zacaria, who now goes by the name Estrella, claims she was raped and received death threats because of her gender identity and sexual orientation in her native Guatemala, and fled to the United States, filed for asylum, was going to be ejected. And what happened is that, I'll read this part. An immigration judge found Santos Zacaria's claims credible. But court documents say the judge inexplicably ruled that she did not suffer past persecution and thus was not entitled to the presumption of future persecution. Of course, if you've been raped because of your gender identity, I'd say that's pretty clear-cut persecution. Fairly self-explanatory. Santos Zakaria appealed to the Board of Immigration Appeal, BIA, which disagreed with the judge's ruling on past persecution, but still denied the appeal and determined she had not been shown she would be persecuted in the future. So yeah, I mean, the townspeople raped me a couple times because I was trans, but there's no expectation that they'll do it again if I show up again. I do have sympathy in this particular case. Again, I'm not into drag queen story hour for kids, but I mean, people should be able to fucking live their lives. They shouldn't be raped for the fact that they want to cross-dress or whatever. And I'm just not into that sort of thing because I'm a human being and not a violent and insane individual. Anyway, I found this funny, and I'm only talking about it because it was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court. So in other words, the supposedly really far-right, moralistic, horrendous, evil justices appointed by Donald Trump, they actually sided with the plaintiff in this particular case against the immigration bureaus of the Biden administration. Yes, Kavanaugh and all of the others ruled in favor of the plaintiff here. And so I thought that was newsworthy. Very interesting story. Sparky, U.S. may not be deindustrialized compared to when you were a kid, but it is compared to when I was. If by that you mean that industry looks a little bit less dirty and there aren't smokestacks everywhere, yes. Actually speaking, though, there are more factories and mines and so forth in the U.S. now than at any prior time in the past. Although Biden's going to do his best to reverse that. He would love to deindustrialize because then he can get more cheap shit from China. Red Muskrat. Would you do a tech episode on Flipper Zero? Very cool new device, but it's not legal everywhere. I have heard of that. I don't know exactly what it is. I'll look into it later and see. And then the final news story. The arrest of Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan was illegal. Top court rules. Oh, what a win for Styx Hexenhammer, who said that the whole thing was fishy as goddamn fuck and didn't make any sense. That's interesting. I heard literally 24 hours ago that I was wrong and that I was, I don't know, simping for a globalist, supposedly, and though I don't know Imran Khan's personal views. He went to court. He's on corruption charges. He's being looked into. He had refused to go to the court before. His fans would sit outside and basically throw rocks at anyone who arrived, and he decided to cooperate, so he was doing what he's supposed to do. He goes to court to get his fingerprints taken effectively. All of a sudden, several hundred heavily armed police swarm the building. They're smashing windows and shit. They drag him out, apparently, allegedly beat his lawyer up and drag him off. Well, now Pakistan's Supreme Court appears to agree with Clankdom. I'm taking a win here. Could be pragmatism. They don't want their nation destroyed by rioting. Islamabad. Pakistan's Supreme Court ruled on Thursday that the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan was unlawful. 2 days after his detention, sparked nationwide protests and deadly clashes. One of Khan's aides said he remained in the custody of the Supreme Court for his own safety and will make another appearance Friday. He was arrested on corruption charges, and he was then held in a guest house inside Police HQ, where he appeared for a special hearing in front of a judge behind closed doors on Wednesday. Closed-door justice. Where have we seen that before? Before being remanded in custody for 8 days on a charge brought by Pakistan's anti-corruption agency. Khan's lawyers had petitioned against judicial proceedings against their client taking place in police HQ instead of a courthouse. Yeah, that seems a little bit odd now, doesn't it? Everything of this smacks of corruption. It's funny. What we see lately is that legal systems and the unipartyists that run them use those legal systems to levy the charges against dissidents that they themselves are guilty of. And I don't know enough about Imran Khan specifically and all of his policies to judge whether I would ideologically support him. But when you go to the courthouse and you're doing what you've been asked to do, giving your data, and all of a sudden you are jostled through the street while your lawyer is being beaten up by the cops, isn't that a little bit transparently corrupt? Especially when the charge you're wanted on is corruption itself. I put 2 and 2 together, looked at the goddamn footage for 30 seconds before I made a snap judgment on that one. It looks exactly like what's happening to Trump, what happened to Bolsonaro, et cetera, et cetera. It looks like a bunch of bullshit to me. Sparky, Imran Khan is anti-globalist. Well, then you just probably answered the question about why this happened to him. Anyway, I think I'm going to go offline. I thank you to all of you for watching, the roughly 5,000 people who have watched live, and watch the kitty too. You know, she's making the moolah. She needs to, after pissing on multiple of my belongings. My robe, my green robe got pissed on. Some of the baby toys got pissed on. The vacuum cleaner got pissed on before we started storing it in the front room. Sometimes she pisses upstairs and it trickles down the edge of the stairs because there's a little tiny gap right at the corner. And it drips down here and onto the floor. So then I have to clean 2 different piss stains. I don't know what her fucking problem is, but the baby loves her and knows her name, Yana, and will wave to her and try to coax her over. So I guess we have to fucking deal with you, my pissy co-host. Yes. She pees everywhere except for the place she's supposed to pee in. So yeah, I'll go offline. Keep in mind, link again, pinned above on YouTube or in the description cross-platform. Get Orange Man Big. Critically acclaimed at this point. I can actually claim that. I don't think, other than Critical Race Theory Debunked and maybe the Book of Forbidden Knowledge, I don't think I've ever had a release that sold this many copies in such a short time. It's again, it's over 1,000 fucking copies already. It's amazing. So I will go offline in a moment. Sparky, though, U.S. pulls Pakistan strings, especially the military. Well, I support the Western world, but I also don't support taking a dissident and jailing them. And to everyone worrying about the cat having a kidney issue, she does not. She got checked out medically and professionally actually before. There is no problem. Her urine was tested, blood work, everything's perfectly normal. In fact, she's in better health than normal for a cat of her age. She's territorially pissing. There was a cat in this house before we moved in, before we started renting it. I think it must have been a really horny tomcat or something, and she got all territorial. She also started attacking her sister, which is something that she never did before. When we were in Demon, they used to snuggle together and go to sleep on top of one another. It's completely different. So don't worry about the cat's health. It's her mental health, not her physical health. That's about all.